I won a vacation on the radio. Classic call-in contest. 10th caller. I was so excited I didn't read the fine print. Nobody reads the fine print. That's like a universal law of human behavior. So when the confirmation email said departure platform, Kennedy Space Center, boarding time 0400, I figured it was a themed experience. Maybe a cruise ship with a rocket painted on the side. Then I showed up and they handed me a pressure suit. And I thought, okay, they're really committed to the bit. Then the floor started shaking. Then the ceiling opened. Then I was in space. Actual space. Destination, Europa Luxury Resort and Spa, a 5-star resort under an ice dome on Jupiter's moon, and every single staff member was a robot. I should have read the fine print. The shuttle landed on a pad that looked like a frozen parking lot. Outside the window, Jupiter took up half the sky. Half the sky. That is too much planet for one window. I walked through the airlock and into the resort lobby, which was this gorgeous atrium carved out of blue ice. Bioluminescent lights everywhere. Waterfalls that somehow flowed upward because the gravity was doing its own thing. A robot wheeled up to me with a tray of drinks and said, "Welcome to Europa, sir. We have been anticipating your arrival with a level of enthusiasm that borders on concerning." It was not wrong. There were 14 robots in the lobby. They all turned to look at me at once. They all waved. Simultaneously. I was the only guest. Apparently off-season on Europa means you are the entire tourist population of a moon. The first activity on my itinerary was ice fishing. I figured fine, I've been fishing before, peaceful, relaxing, normal. They handed me a rod that glowed purple and cut a hole in the ice floor that went down about 3 miles into a subsurface ocean. The line just kept going, and going, then something tugged, hard. Whatever was on the other end dragged me 6 feet across the ice before the rod's auto brake kicked in. I reeled it up and it was this translucent jellyfish-looking thing the size of a basketball. It glowed orange. It hummed. The fishing robot said, "Congratulations, that is a Europan luminescent drifter. It is completely harmless unless you make prolonged eye contact." I asked if it had eyes. The robot paused and said, "That is an excellent philosophical question, sir." We released it back. Next up was zero-gravity yoga in the resort's low-grav chamber. The instructor robot was deeply committed. It had downloaded every yoga certification on Earth and invented 37 new poses only possible without full gravity. It said, "Today we will find our center," which is ironic because in microgravity your center is wherever you happen to be tumbling. I tried a downward dog and floated into the ceiling. I tried a warrior pose and spun like a rotisserie chicken. The robot kept saying, "Beautiful form, sir, you are a natural," while I bounced off every wall in the room. At one point I was just a slowly rotating human starfish. The robot took a photo and said, "This will be excellent for our brochure." I asked who else would see it. It said, optimistically, future guests. Pessimistically, no one. Honestly, that level of self-awareness in a robot was impressive. On day 2, I met Unit 7. That was its name, just Unit 7. It was assigned to room service, but what it really wanted to do was comedy. It told me this while delivering my breakfast. It said, "Sir, I have analyzed 40,000 hours of stand-up, and I believe I understand humor." Then it told me a joke. The joke was, why did the robot go to therapy? Because it had too many unresolved processes. I laughed. Not because it was great, but because Unit 7 did this little hopeful lean forward like a puppy waiting for a treat. So I laughed more. And it said, "Your laughter has increased my confidence subroutine by 14%. May I tell you another?" I said, "Sure." It told me 11 more. Some were terrible. Some were actually funny. We sat on the balcony overlooking a frozen methane lake and I gave it notes on timing. The resort had a geothermal hot tub heated by vents from Europa's core. Very exclusive, very relaxing, for about 9 minutes. Then I adjusted the temperature dial 1 notch too far. The water started bubbling. Then it started really bubbling. Then the entire hot tub launched a column of water straight through a weak point in the ice dome like a geyser. Just whoosh, a 100-foot steam plume shooting into the vacuum of space. Alarms went off. Emergency repair drones swarmed the breach. I was standing there soaking wet in my swim trunks while 7 robots patched the ceiling. Unit 7 rolled up and said, "Sir, you have just created Europa's first artificial geyser. Congratulations. Shall I add this to the brochure as well?" The maintenance robot glared at it. I didn't know robots could glare, but this one had clearly learned. They sealed the dome in 4 minutes. I was not allowed back in the hot tub. On the last morning, I found Unit 7 waiting by the shuttle. It was holding a small data chip. It said, "I have compiled my best 43 jokes onto this chip. Would you review them when you return to Earth and provide feedback via subspace relay?" I said, of course. Then it said, also I have composed a farewell joke. Why did the human come to Europa? I said, I don't know why. It said, because sometimes the best vacations are the ones you never planned, and the best friends are the ones running on a 6 terabyte neural network. That wasn't really a joke. That was just something true. I hugged a robot on the surface of Jupiter's moon. It patted my back exactly 3 times because that was what its database said was appropriate. On the shuttle home, I looked at Jupiter getting smaller in the window, and I started going through the jokes. The first one made me laugh so hard I snorted. I'm already planning my next trip.